Hello, everybody. We are live. We got a special Respect the Line preview episode for Rome. My co-host Matt Taylor not here today, so we had to bring in the much prettier Lee Crispin from Fatal Four, and also 2023 champion of Rome, New York, of the World Series of Bocce. We also have our producer and our fearless leader, Michael Scaldone.
I thought you were about to call me the pretty one.
You second place.
Gotcha.
I'm a distance third. Actually, third place is on the phone right now. We don't get to see his pretty face. But we also have a special guest live from Rome at the Tocolana Club, and that's Joe Malache. Joe, thanks for joining us as well.
All right, thanks for having me. Very, very excited.
Hi, Joe.
This is the week, baby.
So Joe, what are you most excited about as the week unfolds? Is it just all the preparation being done? Are you excited to play? Are you nervous? What's going on? What's going through your head?
No nerves. No nerves at all. This is becoming kind of old hat for us. We got a great team here, and we're ready to go. I think what's most exciting is really just the competition and the excitement in seeing some people that we haven't seen in a while, because it's not just a bocce competition. It's really a community event, and it's a special time. So just very excited for that.
Yeah, it's a community event that you've been putting on for such a long time. Why don't you give us like an idea of when the World Series of Bocce started? How did it start, and how long have you been involved?
Well, it started 50 years ago last year. So in 1974 was the first time it was held. It was kind of the brainchild of a group of men who wanted to just highlight the sport of bocce and kind of bring it into prominence a little bit. So they got together, and they felt like they wanted to try to invite the best teams, not only in New York or in the local area, but around the world, to come and play. They had a dream and a vision, and they put it together. And that very first year, 1974, they were lucky enough to have it featured in Sports Illustrated. There's a cool story if you want to look it up online. There's a great story. The writing style is something that you don't see anymore. It's very colorful. And it featured the first World Series, and it was that article that caught the eye of Wayne Farinacci. And Wayne decided that the following year, if they still held the event again, that he was going to come up and show us how bocce is played. And so he came up the following year and was promptly dispatched. I think he was 2-out in that tournament. But they got the bug, and they got back to Ohio, and they built some courts there, and I think it kind of seeded the bocce revolution that's going on there in Ohio right now. And so that's kind of how the impact that this event has had over the past 50 years. And so it was a privately run event for about 20 years or so. It was held at the Rome Bowling Center, which is a different location than the Tocolana Club now. And then in the early 90s, it was sold to, I don't know if it was sold, or donated or what, but it was taken over by the Tocolana Club at that time. And we've been hosting the event ever since. So this is, we're a little over 30 years that we've been doing it here.
Amazing.
Wow.
And how long have you been involved, Joe, playing, organizing, any of that?
So despite this club literally being in my backyard, where the childhood home that I grew up in, for some reason, it just was not something that I was ever involved in until, I didn't even play really until probably about 12 years ago or so. A buddy of mine, Filippo in Picciatore, you probably know Filippo. He needed a sub one night, and I came and played, and that was it. I was hooked, and so I've been involved. And then, when I started playing, I became friends with the people that were managing the club at the time, and they invited me to come and help, and I was, very eager to do that. Didn't mind it at all. So I kind of got involved in the management a little bit, and so I've probably been involved in the planning the World Series for about 10 years or so.
One of the things that I find pretty special, and I'm interested, the first year, your perspective, and then go to Lee, is just how Rome does it with both open and women's, really getting their, like, I believe their day in the sun, where both the open tournament and the women's tournament are both, from what it seems from an outsider's perspective, are very important to the club and to Rome. And it's very special to see. I just wanted to get your perspective on that. You know, how long has the women's tournament been running concurrently with an open tournament, and you know what the explosion of women's bocce just over the years?
Yeah, so I mean, women have been involved in this tournament from the beginning. You know, as I mentioned in that second World Series, you know, I can't remember if Wayne was beaten by that team or if you know they lost won very narrowly. But either way, you know, they were even very competitive back then. And then I think within 3 or 4 years after the initial World Series, the organizers decided that they would start a women's division because there was so much interest, you know. And so there was the women's division's been around probably over 40 years at least.
Oh, wow.
And it's always had great participation. If you come into the club, if you get a chance when you're here, we have a display up, and you'll see that early on the women kind of made it into like a Mardi Gras or a Kentucky Derby type event, and they would get all kinds of uniforms and get ups as their uniforms, and they really made it an event and a spectacle. And you know, and so we've always welcomed the women here. They're great competitors. As you can see now on the circuit here, you know, when we have all these singles tournaments, there's a lot of participation from the women, and they're very competitive with the men. So, you know, we love having them here. You know, we were kind of hoping to beat our record from last year, 52 teams, came up a little short. We have 51 this year, but we try to accommodate them as much as possible because this club wouldn't be the same without them.
It's great.
That's
Lee,
fantastic.
So Lee, from your perspective, you know, like you come in, it starts a day earlier for the women's, and then you take Friday off. And so the open then starts on Friday, and then you restart again on Saturday. Is that something that you like where it's, you know, you at least have your day where you get to be able to do, or do you rather be starting on Friday, like, and make the tournament earlier? I mean, there would be ways that you have to accommodate to be able to get that many teams done.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously I can only speak for myself and my team because we've talked about it a lot, and we like having that day off. Like, we've looked forward to going up to Rome for years and years and years. We never could make it up there. Then when we got Fatal together, we were like, we're going. And the first year we went, I mean, I can't believe how warm and welcoming everybody was. It was fantastic. We met so many people. And so having that day off gave us that opportunity to, like, meet other people, kind of, you know, see what's around and just kind of chill and watch games. And so we like having that day off.
Yeah. And to Joe's point, it's, you know, bocce is only half of it. Right. It's, you know, a yearly event that you get to hang out with your friends too, right, from all over the country and the world. You know, our friends from Canada too are going to be there. And it's almost a celebration of bocce and like what's special about it.
And it's really cool because even we were in Wycliffe a couple weeks ago, and teams came down that took a lot of, you know, Lockport, whatever. And we know them now because we were up there. You know what I mean? So you go to different tournaments and you're all friends now.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
So sticking on that topic, Joe, just interested on like what teams should the viewers out there. Michael, you're going to be broadcasting, right, from on Thursday starting. So we're going to be able to see some women's games. We're going to see some open games throughout the weekend. And so the broadcast is starting on 5:30 on Thursday night. Joe, what teams should the viewers be looking out for? You know, maybe speak to some of the Rome teams that you know. Who should we be watching for?
As far as the women's division?
Yeah, the women's division.
Yeah, well, you know, you've got obviously the perennial champions. It seems, you know, I think they have like 15 or 16 World Series titles. That's Viviani Law. They've gone under different names through the course of the years, but it's the Ciotti family there. Viviani, they're always a tough team to play. Franklin Hotel, you know, Anne-Marie Zakala and Diane Izzo, they're a very difficult team. D&D Carpets with Carol Brody, who's also a past winner. they're a team to keep an eye on. And, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my wife's team. Order in the Court is the name of their team this year. I sponsored them, being an attorney, so they wanted to get clever with the name, so they came up with Order in the Court, and they're a very competitive team. So, a lot of great women's teams. And I'll tell you what. So here in Rome, we have leagues that play regularly here at the club, and our summer we have a summer league for the men. Okay. And we have the 9 courts, and so we have the 9 courts filled with the men's league. The women actually play 2 nights, and they fill up all the courts on one night. So all 15 courts are occupied by women's teams, and then they have another separate night of women's teams that are playing. So these women are playing all year round, and they are coming to this club, and they're getting better and better, and so. You know, coming here and playing any women's team from Rome is going to be a tough out because they're here, they're playing, they're familiar with the courts, and, you know, they love the sport. And so, you know, I really compliment them and you know, their hard work, I think, is going to show and pay off.
You know, that's one of the toughest things when you're coming and traveling into Rome is just like the local teams know the courts so well. And, you know, it's not like where you're coming and trying to memorize 3 or even 6 back walls and the way that they roll. You have to memorize 15. You're just not like sure which of the 15 courts you're going to be on. And it's like definitely a distinct advantage, I believe, that the home teams have, as well as they should, from playing league there. I would also say that the law court ladies have just improved over the years. Yeah. I mean, it's just... as well, it's like a community that's like really focused on improving the overall ability of the sport.
Right.
It's not just a couple of players from lock court. They've just gotten so much better.
Yeah. You know, they've improved their facility there, and whenever you go to a tournament in Lockport, it's very well attended by the women there, and you know, you're seeing a lot of mixed teams with women on there. So they've really improved, and they're a difficult team to play as well. And, you know, and then all the men are very supportive there, so they're always there cheering them on, and so that makes it a little bit more intimidating if you're playing against them as well.
I've noticed in the last couple of years, there's a lot of women now who hit. You know, when we first started, there weren't very many women who hit, and now, you know, you get these women that they just go up and smash it, you know, and I think that's great. And, then it was like one woman would hit, they'd have 3 rollers. Now they're becoming where they're teams where there's 2 hitters and 2 rollers. So they're improving. They're able to do 2 different things.
Not only are they hitting, they're not hitting underhand, they're hitting overhand too.
Right, so, I know. Yeah. Believe me, I know.
Yes. So, no, you're absolutely right.
Day off too. I wanted to go back to that. Day off is also nice because we don't know the courts. We can watch them. You know, so we watch these games and we try to remember. Okay, that wall doesn't come off. That, you know, that corner sticks. That kind of thing. So having that day off is kind of a learning. You know, gives us a little bit of learning time there.
So that day off, I mean, it just happened, you know, through operation of now taking on so many teams, right? So we necessarily had Thursday. We figured, well, you know, we could use it to eat up some of the games with, you know, if we could identify some local matchups, maybe we can have those teams come in and play on Thursday night. But now, since the field has gone up to 128, it became necessary for the women to come in a day early. We hated to do it to them, but there was just no other way to fit all the games in over the course of the weekend. So Thursday nights are now, you know, all the women's teams are playing, and if you're in the winner's bracket and you win a game, you're probably going to be playing again. And then we just figured, you know, instead of, you know, having a losers brackets games in the women's division on Friday and then having them go home before, you know, the series really started, you know, we figured, yes, let's give them a day off, and they can come in and they can enjoy their time here. They can do some scouting, as you mentioned, and you know, really enjoy the experience. Because again, it's not just.
I think it's a creative way to be able to make both events special. And what you've shown with over 4 dozen teams coming in last 2 years with the women's side, and, you know, now up to 128 teams on the open side, is that people will make a weekend out of it.
Right.
If you make it special enough, people will come. And so you made everyone feel like they're getting their time to be able to play. And then, everybody has a chance, if they want to, to do the second chance tournament on Sunday. Yeah. So if you happen to get knocked out early, you have a chance to be able to play, another couple games.
And I have to give you guys kudos because you don't know how many women I've talked to, traveling to you guys who say, they treat the women with such respect. They treat us just like the men. Our tournament, our games are just as important as the guys. There's a lot of men who watch our games, and you don't get, honestly, I hate to say it, you don't get that at every club. So kudos to you guys.
Well, I'll tell you what, too. The women really support the bar a lot more than the men do, too. So we like to see that as well.
There's a few special exceptions. We don't have to say their names. On the men's side.
Should I take a drink of my beer right now?
So Lee, going into the tournament, who are the teams that you think, we should look out for, as viewers? Who do you think has chances to win or, fun teams to watch? Who should we be looking for?
Well, and I apologize ahead of time. I don't know every team, so I'm not trying to leave anybody out. I'm just going from my knowledge of being there. Seven Hamlets Brewing, they're tough. The women coming down from Toronto, they're sending 4 teams, 3 men's, well, I shouldn't say men's, Val's on one of them, but 3 teams and then 1 in the women's. They're always tough. We lost to D&D Carpet last year. I mean, we had them, but we lost to them, and they were so excited, but they've just gotten really good. I mean, there's just so many women's teams that have gotten good. Obviously, Viviana Law, I mean, they're tough, and Franklin. We lost to Franklin, too, last year, so that was a tough one. But then we saw them in Wycliffe, and we beat them. But they're always tough. So.
Yeah. Well, you came in with such a fury the year before and just kind of, went through the field pretty easily and dominated so much that, I think when D&D beat you, they were also kind of beating a legend a little bit, the legend that you were creating. So that's why it was so exciting for them. But you guys are a terrific team, and I could very easily see you guys playing again on Sunday.
Yeah, we're keeping our fingers crossed.
It's like the blessing and the curse when you start getting good, because then you get the target on your back.
Yeah.
Like you sneak up on everybody at first, and then all of a sudden, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, and
everybody wants to be too.
Because we came in the first year, we came in to practice on Thursday, and the women were real nice. We walked in, we said, hey, can we roll with you? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And Tiffany, I think, gets up and bangs one, and then Tess got up and bangs one, and they looked at each other like, oh shoot, But they're doing that too. So, but like I said, the D&D, we never like to lose. I mean, nobody likes to lose. But they're such nice women. They were so excited. I mean, we were kind of happy for them if we had to lose to anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a team that's constructed of all family members too, right? So you got aunts playing with nieces, and so it's probably very special for that reason as well.
Well, and I hate to say, I can't leave Pro Quality off. Pro Quality, I mean, our local team. I think it's the only other team that's going from here, women. I don't know about Cleveland, but from Youngstown area, Carmelina, Diane, Julie, and Tina Ho's playing with Pro Quality this year. So, I mean, they're tough. They're going
to be a tough out, especially with Tina at the hitting position.
Yeah, and so. I think they're going to be surprised because, I mean, Carmelina the other day at another tournament, she was rolling lights out. Julie was rolling lights out. So they're going to be tough.
Yeah, I know. My girlfriend Diane, she's excited to play with Tina to come with them, and Julie and Carmelina can of course beat any ball. So they were in just an amazing game last year. I think it was the 16. It was like 16-15. It might have been 2 hours long. It was against one of the Lockport teams. It just was. It was such a good game.
Inside?
It was inside. Yeah, it was like 125 degrees, Joe.
Yeah.
125 degrees watching this game. 16-15, and on the last frame, there was 4 amazing hits, like 2 from each team. And it was like, man, this was like watching like any of the open teams battle against each
I
other.
think that was that Julie Hinton's?
Yes, Julie Hinton. Yep. Such a good game.
Great game. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's pivot a little bit. Let's go to the open teams. Mike, are you able to pull up the betting and who's been bet on right now from the open side? Just want to get Joe's perspective on who he thinks. So Joe, right now leading the bets for the World Series of Bocce on the open side is BSB. What do you think about their chances to get back to the championship and maybe finish it off this year?
Well, they're a perennial contender, right? So, and they have the experience, and I think there was one year where they kind of had to win 10 or 11 games just to get to the finals, and they did that. So, they've got players that know what it's like to play on Sunday and in pressure games, and I like their chances. I don't have the draw in front of me, so I can't see what awaits them in their section of the draw, but yeah, they're super dangerous, and I would not be surprised at all to see them playing again on Sunday.
Yeah, trying to find it here. BSB Plymouth Rocks is their first game, Joe, and then they play the winner. If they win that, they play the winner of Empire Plate versus Tony B and Familia.
Okay, so those are probably two games that I don't want to jinx them or anything like that, but or disrespect the other teams. But I think that those are probably teams that are winnable games for them.
Yeah, on paper, if you just if you're putting betting lines, I think they're probably favored in their first at least 5 or 6 games, and then by a fair margin, and then of course it's going to start getting tighter. What are some of the teams that you believe from Rome are going to make a big splash this year? Any surprises?
Well, you've got obviously Frank Malachi Law Firm with Eddie and Nick Serra and Paul Lewis III. Obviously, they're always in contention. North Country Graphics. That's, I think, the game of the opening tournament, really. You've got North Country Graphics against Delios. North Country with Tino Emanuel and Mason Harrison. And I got to pull up my sports tournament.
See if I can find it.
Is Trepepi with them too?
No, I think one of the Melaranos is on that team as well. I think Tony Jr. Let's see here. Just got to find the team.
North Country is Tino, Mason, Tony Melarano Jr., and Greg Puccio.
Greg Puccio,
right. So that's an extremely talented team, and they're going up against the Delios in the first round. So to me, that's the first round matchup that has to be featured, and maybe we'll try to get them over on that court where BBM's going to be televising it. So hopefully we can get that arranged. But yes, certainly those are two teams. The winner of that game can probably go on and make a nice deep run.
That Delios team is going to be interesting. So a lot of storylines with the Delios. One. They played the team name, and so Doug and Sergio were on that team, but with Jason Melaragno and with Marco Orlando Jr., they played in the Club Molsani Open, which we believe to be one of our 4 big major tournaments around our circuit, in America. And they drew BSB first. they didn't exactly get an easy draw again, so I don't know what Doug Carter did to the bocce gods. Right. But he drew another tough game here. And another just big storyline with them is that Richie's unable to play this year. So they're going to be bringing Russ Braglio to come roll with them.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if they win their first 2 games, so if they get past North Country, they got the winner of Stan's Seafood versus Pinky White Laundromat, a game that they would be heavy favorites in. And then they're pretty well lined up to face ABV in the 3rd game. That'll be interesting. It's
going to be some great bocce games early on.
We got a lot of good first-round matchups. We also got possibly first in the broadcast slot. We got Danny's team, Foodie Box Love versus IMBS. And we got DeSalvo versus Frank Malachi.
Yeah, right. Another great matchup there. So I would say that's 1B to the North Country and Delio 1A. matchup. And then you've got two really good local teams that are going up against each other. You got Kika Sitko, which is Jerry Klasinski, Rob Kopak, John Leonard, and Jerry Farini, going up against Jensen 156, which is Mike and Aaron Augusto, Jeff Cook, and Ryan Riley. So those are two really good teams. Kika Sitko, I believe, finished third one year. And Jensen 156 with the Augusto, especially Mike Augusto on the team, that's a team that could make a deep run as well. So that'll be one to watch in terms of two local teams.
I just feel like Joe, whenever I'm at a tournament that Mike Augusto's in, like he's stealing a ball. Like it's just like there's a 3-inch point that no one can beat, and that dude just beats it. I just like you got to be it's so frustrating to play against. He did it to me in Lockport. It was just like over and over and over again.
Yeah, super talented hitter and pointer. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Joe, what do you think?
Go ahead.
Joe, I'm just interested in your thoughts. Like, so I haven't been playing competitively for so too long. Just a little over 3 years. But even in my 3 years, and what I've heard from the past and what I've watched is the one big difference is from before is that now these teams sometimes play with each other from different communities. They see each other from traveling to different tournaments. There's a lot less of the it's Youngstown versus Cleveland or Cleveland versus Rome. I mean, Nico's playing with the Delios. Like, there's intermixing of teams. There's some of these players may be playing with the hometown team, for this tournament. But, a couple weeks ago, they were playing with another, from another state.
Right.
And so they've intermixed. Do you think that that's helped the game, hurt the game, or just made it any different in any certain way? And I'll go to you, Joe, and then I'm interested in Mike and Lee on your perspective.
Yeah, listen, talent recognizes talent, and it doesn't matter where you live, And so I think these guys have a lot of respect for one another through going through the battles with one another. And, and everybody's terrific in this community. I mean, I've yet to really find someone that I really dislike and wouldn't want to spend time with. I mean, I guess there's a couple here and there, but, but for the most part, everybody's really great in this community, and so, it's very easy for us to become fast friends over a very short period of time. Danny, I didn't know you 4 years ago, but, every time I see you, I feel like, it's a great time. It's a pleasure seeing you. And, we could very easily, have a beer, go out to dinner and have a great time. So, it's just those relationships develop and they develop quickly. And, and so when that happens, it's nothing for somebody to just pick up the phone and say, hey, do you mind coming out to Ohio to play in a tournament? Or do you want to come down to Pennsylvania to play in a tournament or Connecticut? And, Ron Dog, he'll play anywhere, anytime, and sometimes he'll play in two tournaments over the same course of the same weekend. Right. So, So we're all bocce junkies. We all love to play. We're all super competitive, and so it's not surprising that people are teaming up and playing, with different people from different areas.
Yep. What do you think, Lee? We tend to see it more on the open side than we do on the women's side.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And the women have talked about this a lot because there's guys who say, why are people changing so often? Teams, and why don't they keep their core? And then some people say you should. I'm a big proponent actually of keeping your core team because I think you get the vibe, you have your gel, what everybody can do on the team. But that being said, I like the idea of meeting other people, other places, and like he said, picking up the phone and saying, hey, we need somebody, can you fill in? And having that friendship with them or that rapport with them where they say, yeah, sure, I'll be there. And again, on the flip side of not keeping the core team, it makes you a better player because you have to figure out how to do your job with somebody that you're not used to and you don't know what they're going to do. You know what I'm saying? I think it makes you step up your game a little bit because you're not in that groove that you're normally in with the four. So, I mean, it's kind of like I see it both ways, but I do love the idea of like picking up the phone and calling somebody from like Rafaela Marano. Like, I can't wait to play with her. I keep telling her we're going to play together one day, so I like the idea.
And be able to get different people's perspectives. What about you, Michael? How do you feel about it?
Tournament-wise, I don't know. I got mixed feelings on it, but I'm interested to see how it plays out in the leagues, in Ohio Bocce League and the Chicago Bocce League, with the drafted element. There's gonna be a few new elements to like the team dynamic there. First, you're gonna have an owner. You're gonna have a team owner who, kind of whether you like it or not, becomes like the boss. And I would imagine some of these teams are gonna have managers and coaches, and so I think we're gonna have some real interesting combinations of players because of that are produced, through the drafts.
Yeah, I agree. I think from like if I put the perspective in for the World Series of Bocce, what I don't like is I would have loved to have been there for like that big like Canadian rivalry and like the Canadian teams and it's the Rome teams and it's the Youngstown teams and you don't play with other people from different communities. Mainly because there wasn't the internet back then, so it was a lot harder to keep in contact. You had to pay a long distance. Like little Tony Iamuri had to call on a payphone if you wanted to play with somebody from Rome. But I would have loved to have seen that sort of like rivalry and like hometown pride. But I also love that like most of these teams are coming into this tournament are like. I've already seen these teams play on BBN, or I've seen them play on, from Lee's stream. You now know the players. It's less likely to like walk into a tournament and have not seen, at least a couple of dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen of these teams or these players play. So there's that familiarity that makes you want to go out and compete and, and try to beat them, and less of that, like that aura around them when you only see them once a year.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, so we also have some tough teams coming in. There's going to be a tough team coming in from Canada. So Pat Peasant, I believe, is playing with Matt Lippa and Mario and Val, and they're going to be a tough.
We got 3 good teams. Well, actually, I think more, but just off the top of my head, another real interesting team to me is the Canucks team. Sam Consolo, was it Sam? Is it Ralph? I think Sam Consolo, Ralph Intrad Nuovo, Tim and Albert Guerrera.
Oh wow! And then
so Montreal and Toronto.
And I know Extreme's different with a couple new players, but Extreme made a big run last year.
Ralph might be on Extreme.
Okay,
that's what it's. Chisidio.
They beat DeSalvo's twice, right? They beat DeSalvo's Catering. Was going for their third title in a row. Felice Natale, Pete Russo, and Big Marco.
Oh, yeah, that was an upset.
And they beat them twice. I mean, they don't sleep on any of those teams from Canada that are coming down to play.
With Bridget's not coming back, but not this year. But yeah, that's Chisidio Palozzi's on the Canucks. It's Sam Consolo, Chisidio Palozzi from Toronto, and then Albert and Tim Guerrera from Montreal. That's a very strong team.
Gonna be a tough one.
Yes, and we drew them.
Did you really?
My team drew them. Yeah. Oops. It's a tough one for us.
Yeah. So anybody who's saying they're manipulating the draw, I don't think. Nobody's picking that matchup.
No manipulation. And it if you look through the matchups this year, you don't see a lot of Ohio teams playing Ohio teams right off the bat, or Connecticut.
No,
teams
just me.
It's a good mix. What's that?
But you know what? It's just the draw, and you got to deal with it. And it can happen anywhere. It's you're as unlucky or lucky to play any of the teams. It's just part of the draw. And for as little as we want to play, our friends over at IMBS and are used to rooting for each other, throughout their own tournament, it's time to go compete. And with Sean New, Jimmy P, Joe P, and Mike HP, we know they're going to give us a run for our money right off the bat. It should be pretty loud for you guys. We promise. We promise to make that game exciting for you.
I mean, that stuff happens. It's like, you don't want to play the teams you always play, but it just happens.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been many times where I've driven 5 hours only to play a team that I could have played, here at the club. So it happens many times.
Joe, how are the inside courts looking? I know you guys were talking about doing something with them, and I ran into somebody who said you haven't done anything quite with them yet. Were you going to do something for next year, or how do they look?
Yeah, well, it's difficult. We do what we can to try to maintain the courts, but as like I mentioned earlier, there's so much play on them. It's hard to find the time, without interrupting the league play. So there've been there's been some work on them to try to level them off. There's a couple of courts that were very troublesome, and so we tried to level them off, scrape them down, added a little bit more material to try to level things off. So hopefully we'll see if that work has paid off or not. But the courts again are there's still a little bit of a work in progress. Last year, if you remember, we spent a lot of time in the outdoor courts, leveled those courts off, and we put the hard true on, and we're just trying to find the right balance of the amount of material and
once you find
the firmness.
They're good. You can, the bend. You if you know the little idiosyncrasies on any of them, then you're good. So we would take over
we've got 15 courts, and each of them have their own personalities. So
yeah, I like it.
Love it. So we have a lot of teams with personalities. That's for sure. Joe, who else should we be looking out for? Any other teams to watch for that you think are going to make a run this year?
Well, you've got Versace Law. They just won the warm-up tournament, the El Urbanati here that we had last week. We had 22 or 23 teams in that tournament, and they went undefeated. And that's a team of Dave Scacia, Bernie Colangelo, Paul Calicchia, and Francanelli. So that's a good collection of fine bocce players there. Dirk Box Cowboys obviously is another good crew of Billy Barnett and Morris and Tom Morano on that team. My brother's team, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of this team, but they made a run and they made it to Sunday last year. I think they finished
Mikey P, right? And
yep.
Joe.
Right. So,
yep.
So it's my brother Frank, Mike, Paello. We had Zach Ortiz and Joey Izzo was on that team.
They played phenomenal last year. I mean, they made a run last year, and they were really picking each other up and playing well.
Got some great Connecticut teams coming out too. Ponte Landolfo, a couple teams from Ponte.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Ponte Drunken Lions, obviously, right, with Frankie, Ronaldo, and so it's a super competitive field. That's and then there's always a couple of teams that you don't expect to see there, but because of the way that the draw plays out and them just getting hot, they find themselves there on Sunday playing some meaningful games. So anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Well, and for those that maybe get down in the dumps when they lose their first game or lose the second game, you can just look at a team like ABV. I think rattled off 11 straight wins after losing their first game to IMBS.
Yeah, you never count them out.
And ended up beating IMBS along the way too.
Right.
Like got the revenge and just like, I mean, the resolve on that team to just keep grinding through each and every one of those games to make a deep run into Sunday, and eventually lost to Adelios to make the championship. I just think, Joe, one of the big things that you need to have in a tournament of this size is just the consistency. Not every game all four players are going to be on,
no. And
you really have to pick up when somebody. You can't have two players off. Someone's going to have a bad game or a bad frame, and you have to be consistently covering those points to keep yourself in those games. And that's something that ABV did throughout last year. Yeah,
and I think I had mentioned that it was BSB that did it, but you're right, it was ABV. and even Adelio's last year, if you watch some of the early games, I mean, Nico was struggling with his hitting early on, and but he, he didn't let it affect the other part of his game, which was pointing, and some of the pointing in some of the games, leading up to the championship, he pointed outstanding, and I think it helped carry the team a little bit. And then, when he finally got warmed up hitting, that's when they really kind of, kicked it into another gear and were able to take the tournament. So, yeah, so even not only, player to player, having to be consistent, but, just staying within yourself. If you're having a rough go of it early on, just, trusting yourself, trusting your talent, and, eventually it's going to click, and hopefully you can help your team move forward and advance.
Yeah, and it's such
and
a
listen, I'd be remiss too if I didn't mention Echo Botch, because for the first time, instead of being somebody that's just sitting there commenting on the play, Mike's going to be able to get out from behind the cameras and get in front of the cameras and play in this tournament too. So I'm excited for him and his team to be playing and participating.
Looking forward to it. Playing with some, Tony I've played with before. It's playing with Tony Sarasoli and his son, Anthony. Never played with his son, so that's another element of, like, just the difficulty of playing on four-person teams. Doug said it, actually, in his, I rewatched the finals from last year. Doug Carter said it in his post-game interview, like, how important it was for him, on their way to winning with Adelio's, when he was missing early on in the tournament, that his teammates kind of told him to shrug it off, don't worry about it. And, you kind of just got to, I don't know, obviously it's easier said than done, but if somebody on your team is not playing well, you kind of just got to find a way to grind through that and just figure, hey, at some point, either they're going to get it together or we're going to be done, but, you got to keep playing.
It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, especially at the World Series. And, it's long. It's notoriously warm.
Yeah.
And, they turn up the heat if you go inside. So, yeah, you have that. It's always warm outside. I think we're actually going to have a pretty nice day, maybe a high of 82 on Saturday. It's not 90 at least. But it's warm. It's a long day. And, nobody wants to miss shots. Nobody wants to roll bad. And if your team's able to get through that, have your back. It's just such a common characteristic of the teams that make runs. They pick each other up.
Yeah, like how many times have you been on a team and the other team starts fighting? You're like, okay, that's it. We're going to get this game because they're at each other. You can't do that. You just got to pick each other up and move on.
Yeah. Joe, what else should we be looking forward to? What do we got for food vendors? What are we going to have alcohol-wise there? I mean, yeah, Andy Sweeney's coming, so he's looking for food and booze. He needs to make sure. I think he's playing with Willie and Mike. Sarah, yep.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of new food vendors this year. Big J, we asked him back, but he told us that he wanted to focus on kind of rebuilding his business a little bit that was hard hit by the tornado. So we've got on the inside, we've got the pasta dishes being made by a local pizzeria, American Pie, and so they'll be inside handling, making chicken riggies, spaghetti meatballs, that sort of thing. And then outside we have Dean's Catering. They are a catering outfit that they handle some pretty big venues, the New York State Fair, a lot of county fairs here in New York State. So they're going to come in and they're going to bring in some traditional items as well as some new items that maybe we haven't seen before. I think you'll be able to get a bloomin' onion and some deep fried Oreos or something like that. They're going to be doing state fair type food as well. But don't worry, they're going to have the sausage and peppers and they're going to have the fried dough. So if you want the traditional the staples, you'll be able to get those as well. So we're excited about those food options. We've got some great bands that are going to be coming into play, a lot of great local bands. So if you're into music, if you want to just come out and hang out and watch the bands, you can do that as well. And then as far as the beverages go, we got a lot of great beverages. We had a huge a delivery of liquor today, so we're going to be well heeled there. And then, Surfside is the primary trade partner, so we're going to be seeing a lot of a lot of products and products. We're going to be okay in terms of a lot of variety for people that are thirsty for sure. And then Chobani is a big, they made a big announcement. They're going to be opening up a facility, manufacturing facility here in Rome starting next year. And so they want to come down and offer some yogurt products, Greek yogurt. They'll be around to hand those things out. So, and then of course Mr. Whippy, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to wander over to Mr. Whippy's got that unique vanilla ice cream that he whips with air, and it's amazing stuff. One flavor, but it's enough, right? It's just amazing ice cream stuff. A lot of good food options here this weekend.
Love it. Mike, what's the broadcast schedule going to be as we wrap up here? Just want to let all the people know where to find us this weekend when we're starting.
Sure. Broadcast starts with the opening ceremonies and the women's play Thursday night, Thursday at 5:30. And then we'll be back Friday at 4 for the first round of Open. What? Oh, okay. Okay, guys, just came upstairs and just static. There's nothing I can do about it. Saturday we'll be back at 1 p.m. 10, and then 10 a.m. on Sunday through the final. Saturday we're starting at 1 because, in the past we've gone until like 12:30 in the morning, so 2 ones, let's just do 12 hours, so. You can keep track of everything on what's called Sports Engine Tourney.
Yep. Sports Engine Tourney.
Sports Engine Tourney app. All the betting info is available. Betting is open until 3 p.m. on Friday, looks like. That is available on our Facebook and Instagram, Bocce Broadcast Network. It's also available if you look on Bocce Underground on the Facebook group. It's not hard to find. I think that's it. We'll be posting some more team previews over the next few days. Some of the historical top contenders, some of the betting favorites, and should be a great weekend. It's always one of our. It tends to be. I think it's been our biggest broadcast audience every year for the last few years. Yeah. So we'll hope looking to break that record again this year. Each year we've broken the record. Hopefully we can get, let's set a goal. We'll see if we can get 600 concurrent live viewers this year. That's the goal.
Do it.
All right.
Let's do it. And I tell you what, coming from Koppel, if you put any of those Koppel teams out and put them on TV, you're going to get all 600 people to live in Koppel to come watch. And before we finish up, I just want to give a big shout out to Pope Saints, who won last weekend. A grind, the first time that the whole team was from Ohio to go win in Koppel, Pennsylvania, at the wonderful IMBS. We go from one court to 15 courts. One court, it's a grind over there. It was excruciating heat. And Ben Diaz and Tim Wilson pointed their butts off. And Popio and Rondog. Just to be able to have 3 players from Ohio be able to make it to the championship for the first time was just something special. And then also at ITAM, we also have the winners with Tina and Joe in a phenomenal. Both were great championships. BSB was second place over at IMBS, and Tess and Carmelina were second place to Joe and Tina in another great matchup. So we had some great bocce over the weekend and some smaller venues and hot. And then, now we're going to the biggest.
Yeah.
Going to a lot of courts.
15 courts.
Yep.
We'll take it.
Yep.
We'll take it.
We're going to be able to be excited there. But just some great bocce over the summer. It's my favorite time is summer bocce.
Yeah.
Like there's just nothing that beats outside bocce, and really looking forward to, a wonderful spectacle out there at the World Series of Bocce. And then of course back home, the Louisville Festival, Mount Carmel will be going on. So we'll have a lot to talk about next week. We appreciate everybody joining and joining the room, joining the chat. Looking forward to putting those previews out, Michael, with the teams and going over to Rocco's poll. Joe, thank you for your time and everything that you do, and everybody else at the Tokolana Club that put on such a wonderful tournament. And thanks for always being accommodating for us. And we appreciate everybody. Have a great night.
Forward to it.
I got one more thing, Danny. The Friday night so our applications just closed today, last night for the OBL franchise owners. Friday at 7 o'clock on the broadcast, we will be announcing our 6 founding Ohio Bocce League owners. So moving on to the next phase of development there. Very exciting.
Lots of fun stuff. Lots of hard decisions. I know that. Lots of meetings for us, Mike.
Maybe some hurt feelings. Maybe.
I just, if I can, I just want to, thank everybody that's involved in the planning. I'm just a very, very extremely small part of planning this huge event, and we have a great team here. And I just want to put a shout out to all of them and just congratulate them on all the hard work that they've put in. And I think you guys are going to see an amazing event, and you're going to have a great weekend. And I can't wait for you guys to get here. And when you get here, you're going to see that the club itself has got a bit of a facelift. So we're not yellow anymore. We're like a kind of a brownish gray color. So even the club itself has gotten a fresh coat of paint, and it's looking good. So when you get here, you're not lost. You're at the right club. It's not yellow anymore. It'll be great. Okay.
Love it.
All right. Very excited to see you all. Can't wait. 2 days away.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Safe travels.